All right, hey, and welcome to sort of odd episode of Data Discoveries. It's not really discovering much data. It's not really talking about data too much with respect to Power BI and connecting data sources, that sort of thing. This is more about the architecture side of things. So one of the things that I have been responsible for in my career is not just getting the data in and out of SQL Server or Oracle or in and out of Power BI or any reporting platform. It's actually been designing end-to-end systems that work to get data from whatever source and get it into whatever reporting platform, whether it be Power BI, whether it be Crystal reports, which I don't know why you would use, but here we are, whether it be SSRS or even Excel. And so one of the things I wanted to chat about today was a question that I got from a friend of mine recently, which was essentially, hey, how would I get data from an ERP or a CRM into Power BI? Should I connect Power BI directly to these CRMs and ERPs? And before they were done, my answer was immediately no. Now, you or your colleagues may disagree with that, and that's absolutely fine. If it works for you, fantastic. But in my travels in the data space and the data universe, anytime I've tried to connect a reporting platform straight to a system that is performing transactions live, it's always been a bit of a disaster, and I just stopped doing it, flat out stopped doing it quite a while ago. My response to anyone who ever asks me to or inquires as to how we can do it is always, do you want a reporting platform or do you want a system that works? And usually is, we want to be able to collect our money. We want to be able to collect our transactions, whatever the transactions may be. But it's very important to know the boundaries and limitations that these systems have when they're interacting with each other. Now, I could just drone on about this, but the reality is you don't really have to watch a video like this to be able to get information about the drawbacks and benefits of connecting systems like Power BI directly to a CRM or ERP. In fact, I didn't even have to do that. So let's hop into our digital friend. Let's ask our digital friend here. And as you can see, I have a window here with Chat GPT open, in which I asked Chat GPT, hey, what are the benefits and drawbacks of connecting Power BI directly to a CRM or an ERP like NetSuite, for example? NetSuite's one of the most popular ones. There's also things like Dynamics F&O. SAP is another popular one. Salesforce, for the CRM side, we have Salesforce, we have Dynamics Customer Engagement, we have, I think HubSpot is another one. And so I asked it, what are some of the benefits and drawbacks? And immediately it fired back with some really good responses. Things like real-time data access is a big benefit. You want to see the data immediately, like 5 seconds after the transaction occurs? Yeah, connect Power BI straight to those systems. Improved insights, that's a good one as well. That kind of, I guess, goes along with the real-time data. Efficiency, yeah, absolutely. It reduces the points, the spots in which you have to plug things in. If it's just a direct connection, it definitely reduces that and makes it way more efficient. That's kind of a double-edged sword, because now you're asking your transaction platform, your ERP or CRM, to act as sort of a data generator for your reporting platform, and that's not always fantastic. And then customization, it goes on to say that Power BI can create tailored reports and dashboards that meet specific business needs. And yeah, that's just a feature of Power BI. That has nothing to do with connecting it straight to a CRM or ERP. That's just a benefit of Power BI. You're going to get that regardless. Now, I want to focus on the drawbacks that we have here. The first one is complexity. Setting up a direct connection can be technically challenging, requiring a good understanding of both Power BI and the ERP system. Performance, that's like my top one. My top one is performance. What you're going to get is a system or an ERP or a CRM that from one day to the next, people will start complaining or having a concern that it is very slow. And sometimes the transactions may not actually go through and you'll get errors. And more often than not, I've seen that as a result of a direct connection from a reporting platform straight to the ERP or CRM. Data security, it goes on to say, if you have Power BI directly connected to an ERP, then everything that the ERP has available for the Power BI platform or the reporting platform to connect to is now suddenly available for everyone. So you have to put certain controls around that so that that's actually not the case. And then dependency on source systems. This is also, I would say, my number 2. If you connect Power BI or any other reporting platform straight to your ERP or CRM, what you're going to get is a direct dependency. As soon as your ERP or CRM goes down, hopefully not, right? Because it's collecting money for you and you really want it to be live. But if there's any issue, if there's any drop in connection, you don't have access to the data anymore. It's completely gone, at least for the time being. And the reality is, if that user is by mistake removed from the platform, then you're going to lose it anyway. So that's actually a huge issue as well. Now, I also asked it, even though I already know, because this is what I've been doing the whole time, I also asked it, can you talk about alternatives such as using and building a data mart or data warehouse? And it started giving me some benefits, all of which aligned with my experience so far. It also gave me some drawbacks, and we're going to talk about both those benefits and drawbacks, including the drawback of cost and the drawback of resources. The reality is, yes, it is a more complex thing to do when you stand up a data warehouse and start pulling into the data warehouse for your reporting purposes, instead of connecting Power BI or any reporting platform directly to your CRM or ERP. That's normal. Those are operating costs. There are a lot of tools and applications that make those smaller than they were, let's say, 10 years ago. Sometimes they're actually more expensive than they were 10 years ago. It really depends on how often you need the data to be refreshed, how much data you need to collect, that sort of thing. How complex the data is, those are all big factors in the cost and resources thing. The complexity and time, of course, it's going to take a little bit longer to stand up, and it's going to be a bit more complex to stand up. Number 3, the data latency. Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be a gap in time. It's not going to be real-time analytics. It can be, or as close to real-time as possible. It can be close to real-time. It's just the cost and the resource allocation goes up along with that need for real-time data. And then maintenance, of course. You are going to need to maintain this data warehouse, maintain this data mart, and that will require both cost and resources to be able to allocate time to it. So, what I wanted to do for this person is kind of draw what I would consider a proposal out for them. And this would be sort of a diagram with a bit of description of how I would go about doing so. And in order to do that, I'm going to use one of my favorite tools for diagramming, which is Lucidchart. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just create a brand new Lucidchart diagram, and we'll start putting some pieces together and connect the dots, write a couple descriptions, and kind of see where we land. First, we have to wait for Lucidchart to load, because apparently my browser is very slow. So I'm going to discuss a few alternatives. DataByJosh, how are you doing? Great to see you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming aboard here. Let me give a quick shout out to DataByJosh here. If I can spell, That'd be great. Hey, there we go. It worked. Fantastic. Welcome aboard. Thanks for hopping on with us. And we're just discussing some data architecture here, which is the, I guess, not so fantastic side of what I do for a living, but it is one of the necessary things to do. BlackGoku, hi, welcome. Thanks for joining. We're really happy to have you here. Hope you are doing really well. DataByJosh says, are we building a F1 car in a spreadsheet today? We are not the Williams F1 racing team, so unfortunately we are not doing so. Hopefully, I'm never going to be employed by Williams F1 team anyway, so it's all right to shoot that shot there. BlackGoku says, sorry, BlackGoku, you gotta no caps there. My auto moderators will block it. Sorry. Let's see. DataByJosh says cuts deep. Yeah. Hey, you use Access in Excel for your multi-million-dollar operation. You deserve some flack there, but I hope they're doing a lot better in their data space. Obviously it's a huge operation, and it just means we're all human, right? The best data person can unfortunately sometimes just stick to Excel or just stick to Access just because it's all they have at the moment, and they may, as long as they maybe sent some covering email saying, hey, we really need a good database platform, that would be, hopefully they're okay. BlackGoku says, I use Paint for diagramming. Maybe I should use something more sophisticated. I am terrible at Paint. I would recommend Lucidchart. I'm not sponsored by them. In fact, I pay for my Lucidchart subscription. But the reality is you can get Lucidchart for free up to like 30 or 40 objects, something like that. And you'll see me using it right now, and you'll determine whether or not it's actually really good. I'm just really terrible at Paint, so I don't use it. I see a lot of folks using it, Microsoft Whiteboard and Teams, that sort of thing, but I really can't use Paint. Every time I use Paint, I get really frustrated at myself, and I want to like throw my computer away, so I don't actually do that. So we are discussing today architecture, and one of the common questions that I get, and in fact I just got this question yesterday, was, hey, how do I connect Power BI to my CRM or my ERP? My CRM being the customer relationship management platform, and ERP being the enterprise resource planning system. How do I do that? And immediately I said, you don't connect it directly. I gave my reasons why, and we're going to discuss those a little bit more, but I also demonstrated how I asked Chat GPT why they would, or what are the benefits and the drawbacks. And so what we're going to do is go through a sort of proposal that I would make if I were in charge of implementing a connection of Power BI to a CRM. I've done this quite a few times already, and most of the time it's using the same exact architecture, but the tools that we use will vary a little bit. So let's hop right in. Again, I'm in Lucidchart. I could just do like some technical systems and stuff like that, but I can really just start from scratch. Lucidchart has a ton of templates that I can use. This is not an ad for Lucidchart. I just like using it. I've been using it for the last like 10 years. DataByJosh says, be right back. Of course, no problem. So we're gonna go ahead and just start from scratch. How do I do that? Popular? No, is it in popular? No, I just leave the templates. There we go. Okay, so again, the first thing we want to do is show Power BI itself. And to do that, we're just going to search for a report, maybe. That's one that you can use. That looks kind of ugly. So instead of that, I'm going to try to see if I can find images. Where are my images? It's all the way over here. We're going to show maybe a dashboard. Yeah, sure, that. And then we want to also show a Power BI logo. And there we go. Now we have a Power BI logo. We can delete that pretty ugly looking report. We can make our Power BI logo quite a bit smaller and see if we actually have a shape that says Power BI. Lucidchart is constantly updating their stuff. Right now it doesn't seem like we have one, but it's cool. We have our Power BI logo here, and then we can create maybe a container around everything using a rectangle and just say this is the reporting platform. Now I'm going to right click here and I'm going to arrange it and send it to the back, so it's just a little bit of a container here, and I'm just going to say reporting platform here. Let's see if I can align the text to be at the top, reporting platform, and then I will just bold this. So let's bring in Power BI. What are some other reporting platforms that we can use? SSRS, that's another one, right? Crystal, just because I feel nostalgic today, I can bring in a Crystal image. Here's reporting services. Oh, that looks pretty terrible. There we go. Oh, maybe if I spelled it correctly, I would get a good image. How about that? That's a little bit better, I think. Nope, it's not better. Okay, let's do Crystal reports. Oh, yes. Which logo? Probably this one. The best Crystal reports logo. Let's put it right up top so we know we mean business. Okay, so that's enough logos to represent our reporting platform. Let's make maybe this a little bit bigger. And so we have our reporting platform here. Now, the other side of this is the CRM. We want to connect these two things together. So what I'm going to do is download, or just go search for some, oh look, icons instead. No, we don't want GIFs. Those are some great GIFs, but we don't want those. We'll get distracted. Let's do Oracle NetSuite. Let's get some popular ones here. Oracle NetSuite. We'll do Salesforce. We'll do Dynamics. I don't know what the latest Dynamics logo is. Probably this one. This one looks nice and new. Oh, apparently it's this one. We'll use the 2021 version. That's okay. Alright, so we'll make these a little bit smaller here. And then we will just show, if I just show Salesforce like this, yeah, there we go. So here's like a semi-good image of a CRM. Why is that a GIF? I don't want a GIF. I just want Salesforce. How about this? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so then we have our CRM here, and we can make these a little bit smaller if we want to, and just have happy little CRMs here. Make this a little bit bigger, and then let's surround it with a container as well, and send this to the back, and then we'll just call it CRM and ERP, Enterprise Resource Planner, and then the CRM is Customer Relationship Management. There we are. Now we have both of these here available to us, and then we want to be able to connect the two together. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit here so that we have a little bit more real estate to work with. Okay, so now that we have those available, what we're going to do is find ways to connect them. And the most popular way, or the way that this person was asking about, which is in fact a popular way, I don't necessarily think it's the best way, but it is a popular way, is just a direct connection. Now, a direct connection would just be, let's bring in a container here, and let's see if we can find something for like ETL. Any of these look okay? This is actually the icon for AWS distro for open telemetry, but we're gonna borrow it and say it's ETL. And so what we are going to, actually it's not ETL, right? We don't want it. What we want is a direct connection. So we'll say direct connection via API. The new and up and coming, and what the cool kids are doing these days, is a direct connection via API. So we'll do that first. And then there's another way, which is an alternative method. It is a direct connection via ODBC. But that's only for the platforms that still offer it. Now, I happen to know that platforms like NetSuite still offer a direct connection via ODBC. Maybe we can search for an API icon instead. That's pretty cool. So we'll use this one for API analytics instead. So we'll borrow the text from here, paste it there, and then cut this completely away and reconnect it there. That way we have an icon for ODBC and we have an icon for the API. Now, these are standard methods. These are the standard methods to connect it. So we're going to go ahead and grab a container and surround both of these. I'm gonna right click here. Oh, yeah, let's right click, arrange it, and send it all the way back. We can go ahead and put like a very faint background here as well. And then I'm going to add some text to the top. I'm gonna top align it and make it huge and say standard and direct connections via ODBC/API. We'll make that a little bit bigger as well. We'll bold it. There we go. And it looks like I missed a closing parentheses. That's something I commonly do, is miss closing parentheses. Okay, so we have an ODBC connection and an API connection drawn out here. Now, something I want to do is do a few points about each one. So what I'm actually going to do is extend this out slightly, and I'll use this notes icon to sort of give some notes about connection with an API. So we can actually use our PowerBI or our Chat GPT session to say, hey, here's some of the benefits. So we'll grab the benefits. We'll say benefits. Maybe we have to zoom in a little bit. So the benefits, quick analytics and results. DataByJosh says, I got you on the big screen now. That's better. I made it. Hi, Mom. This is fantastic. Thank you. I appreciate you, Josh. That's a good. I have a big monitor as well, a big TV screen on my office, and sometimes actually I play your streams there as well. Sometimes on my iPad, but a lot of the times on a big monitor that I have at the close to the ceiling, which is like a perfect candidate for the subreddit. I think there's a subreddit called TV Too High. It's probably a prime candidate for that. But thank you. Thanks for hanging out with me. Feel free to ask any questions about what you see. Yeah, DataByJosh says I've made it too. Absolutely. My dog also watches your streams, so that's a pretty big deal. She doesn't watch anything. So we both made it. We're here. Started from the bottom apparently. Okay, so we're going to have our benefits here, and then we'll say drawbacks as well, both in bold. So we'll call this the drawbacks section. For our benefits, what do we have? We have quick analytics and results. I'm not even going to try to guess at what they were because they're literally right here. We have improved insights, efficiency. We'll do that. Quick analytics and results, improved efficiency, and I already forgot what the third one was because I don't care. This is, for me, it's not a good approach. Efficiency. No. Improved insights and efficiency. Now the drawbacks. Resources. I'm going to list these because I like them. Resources on CRM/ERP consumed. We'll say performance issues and data security. Ooh, complexity. Yeah, all of them. Complexity, data security. And really the data security part, that's enough to make any, CIO, COO trigger their spidey sense a little bit. You're telling me the data security is not going to be fantastic in these times? You really want that locked down, and you really want to be at least wholly responsible for it and not have other parties be dependent on it. If you are in any way PCI compliant or have to deal with SOX and PCI compliance, that's going to be one of the things that you get audited to is, hey, what systems can you tell me have access to this primary CRM or primary ERP? And you're going to want to make sure that you have a very clear answer for those questions and can diagram them with things like this. So even if you choose this direction, it'd be good to have this diagram. Okay, we are going to make this quite a bit bigger here. Okay, so benefits and drawbacks, we can see those now. I'm going to copy this and just put it down here as well. And then I'll align it with our bottom section. There we go. So the benefits of this one, really nothing. They're both, I would say, the same. Yeah, ODBC and API are essentially the same. The API side is a lot more secure. It's a lot more advanced, and really a lot of the time it's the only one available. A lot of organizations have removed the ODBC connections overall. So really the benefits and drawbacks are comparing this type of connection versus a data warehouse, which is what I'm going to get to. DataByJosh says, how do you get it using CRMs? I know it comes up a lot in postings. Any ideas? DataByJosh also says, what's a good benchmark, for example, ODBC connections? So the first two questions, I will say the best way to get into a possible CRM is actually Salesforce's Trailhead program. Salesforce is I would say, the standard for CRMs. Dynamics is right up there as well. I'm sure there's like a top 20 list somewhere on the internet, but Salesforce is indeed one of the most popular ones, I would say, in job listings, followed very closely, not even very closely, but followed secondary by Dynamics CE. Now, the cool thing about Salesforce is that they actually have a Trailhead program, what they call the Trailhead program. So Salesforce Trailhead is something I'll search for here, and I'll drop the link in the chat in 1 second here. Let me go ahead and drop this. Oh, yeah, yes. I would like to use encrypted connections, please. Thanks very much. So what the Trailhead program is basically a step-by-step how-to Salesforce. Everything from what is Salesforce to how to start using it. They have a free, all this is free, by the way. They have a free kind of instance of Salesforce that you can use as well to get started and get developing, or you can follow the development path. Yeah, DataByJosh says, thanks, of course. You can follow the development path, which is developing Salesforce. You can follow the administration path, which is you're a Salesforce administrator. You kind of are a developer as well, but you're mainly taking care of things like permissions, things like updates, restrictions, that sort of thing. Most of the time, those two roles end up kind of being one. If your team is small, it's usually how it works, but that's the same thing for databases as well, right? Your developers sometimes end up being your administrators, but I would highly recommend it. It even has paths to certificates, and very often you'll see coupon codes or even just completely free certificate tests. So basically you have to take a quick exam that's proctored by Salesforce. The program is great, and as you can see right here, big in orange, it is 100% free. DataByJosh says, excellent, this is great. So CRMs, kind of what are they? Are just a way for you to keep track of your customers. Let's say you're a very small business, you want to be able to track your customers, be able to communicate with them, send them emails, be able to receive emails and spool things up like cases, right? If you have a case where there's an issue, support tickets, you'll see that a lot of places have support via Salesforce. You usually see something like, Salesforce on behalf of Tesco, because you have a case open with Tesco's or something like that. I don't know. And so Salesforce is a great CRM platform to manage all of your customers in a safe, secure manner. Again, this is not an advertisement for Salesforce. They don't pay me. But the great thing about these platforms is that they're also cloud-based. So all your data is actually stored in the cloud. You don't have to worry about a database or anything like that maintaining it. It's all maintained for you up in the cloud. Obviously, it is more expensive than a bare metal CRM or an on-premise CRM, but the reality is those are gone. Your salespeople, let's say you're a bigger organization that has a lot of sales folks, your salespeople, they're out and about. They don't have time to VPN. They don't have time to log into their laptop. They're on their phones, they're on their iPads, and they need to be able to see customer information, enter orders, that sort of thing from anywhere. And tools like Salesforce make it possible. NetSuite, Oracle's NetSuite is another CRM as well. I don't think it's as good, but hey, some people want their ERP and CRM together, and so it's also out there. There's quite a few of them, and those are just some. Workday is another good one as well. Those are just a few examples. Again, Salesforce is one of the top ones, and I love their Trailhead program. I'm part of it. Our company, BlackGoku says, our company uses Microsoft Dynamics. Yeah, Microsoft Dynamics CRM is fantastic as well. I worked on a team where we started implementing it. I left before it could be fulfilled, but Dynamics is a great CRM. I'm curious to you probably use customer engagement, the CE platform. It's pretty great. So it's another top one. I would say it's only second to Salesforce. So DataByJosh asks, what the data rig? Yeah, as you can see, I have my MacBook Pro with an M1. Which is actually very interesting because I get asked a lot on places like Reddit, like how do you have PowerBI running on it, that sort of thing. And it's usually with those Dell Micro PCs that you see at the end of that response there. But with Parallels, you can actually run things like PowerBI Desktop on there. And the reality is it's way more reliable than my sim rig is. My sim rig, I have to like shut it down every time I want to stream, which is actually going to be later today, but I'm actually going to stream in Spanish from this platform here. I have two different rigs for streaming, one for my sim racing and one for my data stuff. But those two micro PCs, this is actually one of them right here, like 150 bucks on Woot. Highly recommend, because all that stuff can just stay on all your database platforms and stuff can just stay on the micro PC. Okay, so there we have Salesforce Trailhead. Let's get right into our diagram here again. Let's remove these benefits and drawbacks, because the reality is we just need quick descriptions of what the ODBC side is and what the API side is. DataByJosh says, I have ran a boot camp on Mac before. It seems to be okay and allows me to do the basics in Excel and Power BI. Yeah, absolutely. I think the crazy part is that boot camp might not work on the new Apple Silicon chips, the M1s, M2s, and now M3s, I guess. And that's what a lot of the discussion is. But I have an M1. And I run it on Parallels just fine. I never had an issue. DataByJosh says, yes, that's correct, because it dropped the Intel chip. Exactly. I used to have a, actually have right behind this one is a, like a MacBook Air or something like that with the Intel chip. And I used to have parallels running on that too, but I've had it on my M1 without any issues, so I think it's a Parallels thing. Parallels is just really good at taking away all those barriers. It's a paid service, of course, but I just wanted it to work. That's what we all want when we buy Macs, I think. Okay, so ODBC is something that Josh asked about before. ODBC connections are essentially what we would call now the legacy way of connecting to the back end of a platform. They're a database type connections, and I actually don't know what ODBC stands for, even though I've been using it for like 13 years. Let's take a quick look at what ODBC stands for. Open Database Connectivity. I've been using it for 14 years. No idea what it stood for, but essentially it's your way to be able to connect through the back end, through basically directly to the database, the underlying database of any sort of platform, including database platforms themselves. And so applications like NetSuite or systems, platforms like NetSuite allow you to connect through the ODBC protocol instead of API. Now, because APIs are newer, they also have a lot more features. They have more security features. They have more productivity features, that sort of thing. So ODBC is kind of lagging behind, and the features that it had, a lot of teams just aren't focusing on improving it. So you kind of get what you get and you don't be upset. Now, ODBC connections I think are easier to implement, because the reality is with an ODBC connection you just get direct access to the objects or the tables, and so you don't have to worry about things like setting up an API connection and authentication. The authentication is just taken care of usually by things like the Microsoft ODBC manager, which is the date. If you open up the data sources section of Windows, you'll usually see it there. I can't do that now because I'm on my Mac, but my Windows machine is somewhere behind this window, but I can't show it without switching screens, so I won't be doing it. So ODBC, I would say, lagging behind in features, not as well maintained, easier to implement, but not as capable. There we go. Okay, and so we have our API and ODBC connections. Absolutely fine. Those are, again, not the way that I would do this. However, I want to present them because they are viable options. I just don't like them as options. So our next way that we'll do is, let me just go ahead and copy this, paste it here. Did I not do that right? Let's try that again. Copy, paste. There we go. Let's get the alignment going well. Almost there. Sure, something like that. Now what we'll do here is, instead of using the API and the ODBC, what we're going to do is actually set up an entire data warehouse, like a microscopic data warehouse in DataMart. So I can actually completely remove, no, it can still be through ODBC or API actually. So we'll leave those in there. What we're going to do is actually shift these to the right a bit. Will that happen? No. I have to like group these together or something. This, that, this, and this. Of course, the only thing that didn't move is that white square there. And the PowerBI logo. Okay, so through API and ODBC, you can still connect. In fact, that is how I would recommend through either one of them. But the reason I'm moving all this stuff to the right is because I want to add a data warehouse. I believe that the data warehouse is a much better way to connect Power BI to your ERP and CRM platforms. So what I'll actually do is just set up a quick SQL Server here. We're going to add a component for SQL database. And what I actually want is a data warehouse. So I'll say data warehouse. And here we are. This is the data warehouse icon. I'm going to go ahead and use that. And we'll call this data warehouse / data mart. Let's call it data warehouse / data mart. I'm going to zoom in a bit here. And that's really it. Here and here. Now, this is where the actual data is going to live, and Power BI or any other reporting platform will not have access to it. Will not have access to the CRM. So the reality is we can actually take these away here. All this can go away. Nope, not that. Definitely not that. Not that either. Let's try to do this correctly. Nope. I'll get it. I'll get it. One day. Should we send this to back again? Arrange. Send to back. Nope. Nope. Oh, we'll get it, friends. I promise. One of these days. There we go. There's 1. 2. Nope. It's like, no, you don't delete Microsoft Dynamics. It's great. I know it's great. We don't need 2 copies of it. That's just twice the price. Okay, so we're gonna set up a data warehouse here, and then we'll set up this reporting platform section. And then shrink this guy. So now we connect our data warehouse to Power BI instead. Now, why is this advantageous? It's advantageous for many reasons. Evascroll, saludos. Un poco tarde, pero aquí estamos. Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros. Estoy dando una presentación en inglés de cómo la arquitectura envuelta de comunicar un CRM como Salesforce, como NetSuite a una plataforma de reportes como Power BI, como Crystal, como SQL Server, Reporting Services, cosas así. Cualquier pregunta que tengas, por favor, adelante en inglés, español, lo que tú quieras. Saludos y muchas gracias por estar aquí. So we have our reporting platform here. It's only one copy of everything that we need, right? Because it's actually just using 2 connection methods, but the end result is always going to be our data warehouse. Why is this much better? It's much better because, in my opinion, the data stays where you want it to. It's always available. So the only thing that's a dependency is the fact that your data warehouse is online. Evascroll dice, nice, I'll be in the background or foreground. If you want to ask any questions, please go ahead. Tengo otro stream que viene, creo que en como 2 horas. Voy a almorzar bien rápido después de este, pero voy a hacer otro stream de cómo utilizar una página que encontré que tiene una fuente de datos que básicamente son los tiempos de espera para diferentes parques como Disney, Universal, cosas así. Y voy a demostrar cómo utilizarla, cómo crear reportes. Evascroll dice, listening and playing pool. Nice! I have not played pool in such a long time. I'm very bad at it, so it's a good thing that I have not played pool. But man, it's been a long time for me that I played pool. Not even, I think I have it for like Oculus for VR, but I haven't played that either. Okay, so we have our reporting platform. We have our benefits and drawbacks. Let's go ahead and remove these right here because they're actually completely different. Our benefits to this solution, if I can spell benefits, our benefits are that our data is always available. Data always available and not dependent on CRM/ERP being live. What else? Secure, more secure, and more control over data flow. Here you get to control exactly what sort of data you want to pull. You don't have to pull all the data if you don't want to. You can just pull some of it. You can control who has access. Instead of just anyone with access to Power BI, you can also control who has access to the data in your data warehouse, things like that. Evascroll says, in my SQL journey, I'm working with triggers. Triggers are great, but I love one of the explanations that Brent Ozar has for triggers, which are, you want to be very careful because triggers are basically just like asking SQL Server to have a post-it, like a book of post-its, and everything that it does, it writes it down on a post-it note and puts it on the desk. And then I just did this and I'm putting it on the desk. They're great, and they're really good for things like controlling what data goes into your tables, checking your data, and also maybe pushing data to another table automatically. But if you have too many of them, it can slow down SQL Server. So I love using them, but I use them very, very sparingly, if I can use that word, I guess. Data analysis is always available. The data is always available. It's not dependent on the CRM or EIP being live. It's more secure. We have more control over the data flow. What else? I know it said some other stuff like historical analysis. That's another big thing. Even if you lose your data from the CRP or CRM or ERP, you can always have it in your data warehouse. Historical analysis. And also the biggest one for me, resource management. It's a lot more resource intensive to run Power BI or any reporting platform directly to the CRM. So you always want to make sure that you're cutting down as much as possible. Okay, so this is my preferred method here, using an API or using the ODBC. Now, the API is going to have its advantages and its limitations. The ODBC is going to have its advantages and its limitations, more limitations than anything. But what methods would I use right here? That's also an important part of this whole thing, is what methods would I use for my data warehouse to collect the data. Now I have three that I'm going to talk about. The first one is using SQL Server Information Services. Let's see if we can search for SQL Server Information. No. SSIS. SSIS lift and shift. I like that, but we're not going to use that. We're going to search for an image instead, and we're going to search for SSIS. There we go. SQL Server Information Services. Integration services. Oh my god. I feel like I'm brand new at this, even though I've been doing it for a very long time. Integration services, you're absolutely right. BlackGoku is like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. And you're probably right. I have no idea what I'm talking about. If that's something you might think. So integration services is just a way for you to be able to, I like to use it to orchestrate moving of data or collecting of data, but also it does the work. So you can have it do the work for you, and you can also use it to orchestrate. DataByJosh says, just like my streams, I have no clue. Absolutely not. That's a complete lie. If anything, we're all learning together. You can see a screenshot here of some of like a few of the things that you can do. This is a slightly older version here that you'll see, or maybe not see because the image decided not to load. But basically, the components are organized into things called tasks. So the task will allow you to have a particular step in the process, and you control via these arrows and these links, you control the different steps in the process and coordinate them. BownerSoup, welcome. Thanks for joining us. BownerSoup says, my company has a custom-built ERP and a data mart hosted Oracle on-prem. I have Power BI connected to the data mart with the instant client and the TNS and Aura file. That's basically an ODBC connection. Yeah, that's exactly what that is the ODBC connection. Oracle is... I have a love and hate relationship with Oracle. It gave, working with Oracle gave me my first DBA job, and so I'm very thankful for the experience I've had with Oracle. It's a great and robust platform, but it's no secret, if you watch any of my other videos, it's no secret that I think it's way too expensive. Is it too expensive for what it is? Absolutely not. It has a ton of features. I think it's more too expensive for what most people use it for. I feel that $47,000 per core, US, of course, US dollars, but $47,000 per core is a little bit too much. I do have Oracle here for my demos, and I do work with it. Not as much as I'd like, but I'm a big supporter of their learning platform. Their learning platform is fantastic. It is livesql.oracle.com. I'm going to push this link over to the chat because it is great for everything from learning SQL itself to learning database administration, and it even has a built-in and compressed version of Oracle 19c right in your browser. You can use Oracle in your browser without having to download anything. This is great if you don't have a very capable machine. If you are on a Mac and you can't run Oracle as easily, if you just want to play around with data and databases, it has a fantastic platform. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel about how to create data using livesql.oracle.com. Creating test data. It creates like thousands of records for you. It's fantastic. And I suspect that the reason they offer it for free, this whole application, is so that folks like me and folks like you go learn it and then keep the Oracle system alive. It is one of the top platforms, obviously, right? It's very popular, so it's not really going away soon, but just to keep it alive. And then who ends up paying for stuff like this, for platforms like this, are the people who buy Oracle licenses because they're so expensive. They end up paying for some. So it's worth it to Oracle to teach you how to use it for free so that you can go and use it in your job, and your job has to pay for the Oracle platform itself. At least that's my theory. I don't know. But Larry Ellison keeps getting boats, and he keeps getting Hawaiian Islands. So they must be doing something right. All right, back to here. SQL Server Integration Services. Again, it's just a platform to be able to orchestrate data movement and to also perform the work of data movement. Now, you could just do the work in SQL itself. In fact, I've done that quite a few times before. It always starts that way for me, and then I end up using SSIS when I want to scale things out. BownerSoup said, BownerSoup, I'm so sorry, I kept saying BownerSoup for some reason. BownerSoup says, thanks, I've seen some of your comments on Reddit. I am, yeah, I don't, yeah, whatever platform it is, I usually will say, that I appreciate everything Oracle has done, and I think it's an amazing platform. I just don't think it's worth the price. And it's overly complex just for the sake of being complex. In fact, my first venture into the world of sharing information with the community was a blog post I'll pull it up really quickly. If you go to my site, SQLDevDBA.com, and you go to the blog section, one of my first blog posts was a quick series about how complex it is to work with Oracle SQL or PL SQL versus T-SQL or Microsoft SQL Server SQL, and all the different complexities. I like to relate it to a skit that Gallagher, the comedian, did in like the 70s, which is basically he had like it was making fun of the English language and how words that are spelled similarly don't sound alike, and how words that are spelled completely differently sound similarly. BlackGoku says, I'm literally working with SQL Server and an MDM, Oracle DB, at the same time. MDM, do you mean Master Data Management? I think that's what MDM stands for. Master Data Management. Yes, I have. BlackGoku says a lot of cultural shock. Yes, MDM, Master Data Management. Okay, yeah. That was my introduction to Oracle as well. Is the organization that I work for was strictly Oracle with a tiny bit of SQL Server, and I was responsible for building out the SQL Server infrastructure in the data warehouse. And we had to go back and forth every day. Every second of every day we were going back and forth because our system of record was in Oracle. So I share your pain, both you, BlackGoku and BownerSoup. I share your pain in the Oracle space. Let's be honest, having an Oracle knowledge makes you more desirable, and in rare cases, maybe not so rare, pays a lot more money. So if you work with Oracle, this is a message for you. If you work with Oracle, you should be making more money than you probably are. Oracle's a very complex platform, and it's very expensive, and it's a very niche platform, and it's very complicated. Most people who work with Oracle make more money than people who work with, let's say, platforms like SQL Server. So, or if you know both, that makes you even more desirable. So keep that in mind. Am I telling you to go ask, like, demand slam on the desk and remind, demand more money? No, but I just want to let you know, you shouldn't undersell yourself if you work with Oracle well. Okay. So we have one of the methods, SQL Server Integration Services. What's another ETL platform? Isn't like Dynamo or something like that? I really don't use many other ones. Top ETL platforms. I think DataStage was another one I remember using. Let's see if we can find IBM DataStage. Yeah, there we go. That's too big of an image, so I won't be using that. There we go, right here, the logo, IBM DataStage. That's another one. DBT. So DBT is something I've really been wanting to get into. I think DBT is like, I want to say it's as important as SSIS was 15 years ago. Like when Microsoft released DTS, I think it was like SQL Server 2000, maybe slightly earlier. I said SQL Server 2000 like it's 15 years ago. SQL Server 2000 was exactly 24 years ago. So number one, I'm old, and number two, I need to get with the times, apparently. So yeah, but yeah, I think DBT is as important as SSIS was back then. I've really been trying to challenge myself to get more into it. Let's add it here if I can find a logo. I probably can't. House of DBT. Yeah, that's probably not gonna work, friend. Let's see. Lucidchart does allow you to like go to the website. I want to make sure I'm going to the right DBT website too. DBT. Yeah, DBT Labs, I think is this, right? This logo. Let's see if I can copy image and paste it here. Ooh, Lucidchart, you would be like super cool if you did that. Is it gonna happen? No, this is just like a link to Oracle Live SQL for some weird reason. Oh, because it's the last thing I copied. Probably it's because it's the last thing I copied. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and save this image as, and great, now it's DBT logo. I'm gonna bring it in, insert image from the desktop. Oh hey, that's me. And there's the DBT logo. Where'd it go? Here it is. All right, we got it. That's enough ETL tools. I'm sure there's a lot more. I'm sure they're all great. I don't care to show them all here in my diagram. So here are some ETL tools that we can use. Let's surround that with a quick container. ETL tools, name that, and then we'll right click on it. Let's try that again. We'll right click on it, arrange, and send it back. And then let's give this like a cool little background as well. Maybe the same color here as well. Okay, so using these ETL tools, you can move the data from the platforms, from the ERP and CRM platforms, and store it in your data warehouse. Evascroll says old equals conocimiento. Yeah, that's super true. Being an old platform means it's way more it's way more knowledgeable. There's a lot more people that have a lot more knowledge of it, right? When it's a brand new platform, I'm excited about DBT, but it's still so new that I don't think a lot of people are using it right now. Even though they should. I should be using it. I'll completely admit that. It's a great platform from what I've read so far about it, but when you have these legacy platforms, like Evascroll is saying, SQL Server Integration Services, IBM Data Stage, those are really old, but it's also, but they're also very popular, which means a lot of people are working with them. Evascroll says, I mean, when I say I'm old, oh yeah, okay. I am old. Yes, I am very old, but it does mean, like you said, that I have a lot more experience. Some good, some not great, but I've made a lot of mistakes, which means I can hopefully help you not make the same mistakes. And that's what I'm trying to do here is I made the mistake of setting up a reporting platform once directly to a CRM, directly to an ERP. It did not go well. Again, the next day, hey, why is the CRM not working? Hey, why is the ERP not working? And me silently shutting down the reporting platform, it was because it was pulling so much data all the time and it wasn't allowing the transactions to just transact. So that's really the main reason, and the main reason I always say just stop people right there and say you do not want to connect Power BI or any reporting platform directly to a CRM or an ERP. Just let the CRM and ERP do their thing. Collect data once an hour. Collect some of the data every 5 minutes if you absolutely need to. But don't let Power BI connect straight to your CRM or ERP. I've seen the queries Power BI does. You can too if you download tools like, what is it, Power BI's, what's that one tool from SQLBI.com? Something DAX Studio. DAX Studio is a tool, I think it's somewhere around here, but DAX Studio is a tool that lets you see the queries in real time. And I think even Power BI Desktop does now too. Some of the things that Power BI does, I'm just like, oh my God, why would you do it this way? And it has its reasons, of course. It's the most efficient way it can do it, but it really just doesn't seem to care whether or not your database platforms are okay, or whatever source it is getting its data from is okay. It just wants to pull data as quick as it can, store it, and go away and start presenting the data for you. So really have to think about what is more important to you. Is it seeing the data, or is it collecting the data in your source systems? That's really important to know. Okay, so we have our ETL tools. There's also the concept of virtual data platforms. And what's behind that is basically putting a layer on top of your source systems using even SQL Server itself. You can create things like views that will go directly to your source systems and allow tools like Power BI to access it via those views. I think, in my opinion, that's just a direct connection like this with extra steps. for anyone who enjoys Rick and Morty references. It's the same thing with extra steps. You're still connecting Power BI straight to your reporting platform, straight to your CRM, straight to your ERP. You're just using SQL Server as a catalyst, as a medium to do so. In my opinion, you don't want to do that. You don't want any sort of direct or indirect connections. You want to have a direct connection from your data warehouse to your CRM or ERP. Keep the data there, house the data there, and then have Power BI connect to your data warehouse instead. So we're going to make that very clear right here. We're going to draw maybe like a line from here to here and say no, something like no direct connection allowed. We're also going to make this line sort of dotted so that it's very obvious that there's no direct connection allowed. Why is this little icon showing here? Okay, I guess we'll make the line a little bit thicker as well. Maybe like a red X, or just red font. That would probably be good. We make this red. There we go. And the line red as well. The line should be red, I think. There we go. So now we have a no direct connection allowed. It's kind of out of the way, but it's very clear that we don't want any direct connections from our ERP straight to Power BI. So here, I'm just going to add a little note that says, house the data in your data mart or data warehouse. Allow Power BI to access the data there. And we'll have to zoom in a little bit. We'll have to this post-it note a little bit as well, and maybe make the font slightly bigger. There. Okay, so would this be something that I can present? If it was informal, if it was a bit of an informal meeting, I would say yes. Now for the sake of this presentation, I think that's the important thing. Normally I would go do things like align this, just so that there's no issues with bending lines or anything. Let's do that really quick. So my goal here would be, if you're a DBA or you're an architect or you're a developer even, and you've been tasked with like, hey, we need data from our CRM, from our ERP in Power BI. Go do it. I'm hoping that something like this would be what you would be able to present to your leaders as ideas and as reasons why you would choose one method over the other. And I specifically am calling out these direct connections because I want to make the stakeholders or whoever asked me to do this, I want to make them aware that I did the research of how to do it with this method. And I found that it's not an appropriate way to do it, or it's not, in my opinion, a good way to do it. The last thing you want is someone, you making a presentation, and then whoever's reading it goes, hey, why didn't you consider this other method? And then you're kind of having to go, oh yeah, I did consider it, but it wasn't really worth it. And then you have to go into a 5-minute thing about why not to use it. Whereas here, we just have a clear explanation. I would not use this because X, Y, and Z. What I would suggest instead is this method. So let's give this a bit of a surrounding here. Let's make an even bigger box around it. What color should we use? Actually, this should be more of like a green, and this should be more of a red, as in, hey, I don't recommend this. Yeah. And then here I can say, not recommended. And here I can say recommended. Here I'm going to say via ODBC, API, and ETL via data warehouse. No, actually, I'm going to say right here, data warehouse driven connections via ODBC, API, and ETL. Because here's the thing, you're still going to use either API or ODBC to download the data. The real difference is what the destination of that data is. In this first diagram, it's the end point, or the destination is going to be straight to Power BI. We don't want that. We want the destination to be our data warehouse. Now, that's going to allow the data to always live in the data warehouse, always be available, be much more controlled, be much more scalable. Because guess what? One of the biggest advantages here is that if you suddenly if you have Oracle already and you suddenly add Salesforce or add Dynamics, all the data is still going to be able to be relatable in this data warehouse. You don't have to set up any crazy connections anymore other than downloading the data from a brand new system and putting it in your data warehouse. You can keep scaling it. Whereas with Power BI, there might not be a Power BI connector. That's another drawback that I should probably put here. Connector availability. There might not be a data connector from Power BI straight to the platform that you are just adding, or the platform that you already have. And so you have to use methods like the API, like the ODBC connection, that sort of thing. All right, so what else do we have? We have our ETL tools that we're using to download the data from the CRM and ERP. I thought I wanted to cover something else. We have our different platforms like Oracle and SQL Server that you can make a data warehouse with. Actually, that's one thing we can quickly cover. Is it doesn't really matter what database platform you use. Some of them are going to work with Microsoft Power BI or Crystal Reports or reporting services a little bit better. But it's really about whatever database platform you're more comfortable with. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you you need to go buy Microsoft SQL Server. If you have no platform right now, then I would probably recommend something like Azure SQL, which is in the cloud. Something like Amazon Redshift, which is also in the cloud. Oracle Cloud, Oracle was OCI, I think is what their cloud offering is called. I would recommend cloud platforms. However, cloud platforms are obviously more expensive. I have a quick story about how I decided to upload about 1 million records of weather data into my Azure SQL instance, and I ended up having to pay $150 to Microsoft just for that hour's worth of work. That was the most expensive bill I got from Microsoft, because the reality is I pay for it with my own money, and I don't really have a use for it other than to do these videos and sessions. So you want to consider the cost of a cloud platform when you go on premise. Let's say for a product like SQL Server, you're looking at about $2,000 per US core on your machine. So most 2-core machines, like the machines I have, most 2-core machines are going to run you at least $4,000, but that's a one-time fee for the license. You can pay for something called software assurance. There's a lot more information about licensing. I'm not a licensing expert for SQL Server. I just have have to continuously look at it because I often have to gauge the product for the organizations that I work for. But you're looking at about $4,000 to start up a SQL Server in production. You're talking about dev. A dev environment is completely free. All the environments I run, because I use them to teach instead of for actual work, all of them are free. So if you're standing it up, if you're standing up a system and you just want to see whether or not it works for you, that's absolutely free, including enterprise features. And then software assurance, I can't remember how much it is. I think it's something like $1,000 a year or $500 a year. However, something that's really important is SQL Server comes, or SQL Server and really any other database platform, it comes with its intricacies. You have to have a DBA for it. You have to have developers for it. You have to have ETL administrators and developers. Sometimes that's all one person. And if you're watching this and that's you, I feel you. And you should ask for more money. I'm fortunate enough to always have worked with teams of at least one other person that I can share the pain with, but also share the workload with. And I'm very fortunate to have those team members in the past and in the present that I can rely on and bounce ideas off. But if that's just you, you may want to reconsider doing something like this, because you really want to have maybe a cloud platform where it does all the administration, all the backups and stuff for you. So that's always something to consider when you are exploring these different methods. Okay, so I think I have the diagrams I need. I'm going to export these and send them to the person who asked me for the information, and maybe write up some additional analysis, things like the cost associated, things like links to Microsoft licensing pages so that they can get a better idea of where they're going. But I hope that if you're watching this now, or if you're watching this in the future, that this helps you at least get a better idea. And the reality is, don't take my word for it. Ask Chat GPT. I mean, that's literally what I did before, I hopped on this presentation. As I said, let me make sure I know what I'm talking about. And, having an AI model give you the assurance may not sound correct to some, but the reality is the answers it gave me are fantastic. I even started having a conversation about some of the specific tools that you can use for data virtualization, because I was curious and I wanted to know more about it. But as soon as it told me what it actually was, I was like, oh, that's the same thing, just with extra steps. So feel free to have a conversation with it and ask it maybe not your specific scenario. Don't give away too much. I'm still very hesitant to give it too much information. But just give it vague but specific information. I know that sounds weird because it's an oxymoron, vague and specific, but just give it a try. Have a conversation about different things. Like I started having a conversation about ODSI, which is a product from Oracle to integrate different platforms. Where is it? ODSI, yeah, Oracle Data Service Integrator. See if it works out for you. But I hope that this gave you at least an inkling of the sort of things that a data architect or a person in my role, which I manage data teams and I manage data projects, has to go through, and all the different considerations that you have to make, and see if it's maybe one of the paths that you want to go on. Remember, it all doesn't have to be just development. It doesn't have to be just reporting. If you happen to like architecture and diagrams, maybe consider data architecture, database administration as one of the paths that you follow instead of development. You're every bit as useful. It would certainly help to know more about the development process, the integration process, the ETL process, so that you can make better decisions. But it is always a career path that you can follow. Okay, so I'm gonna stop here. I have a stream. I'm gonna go get some lunch, and then I'm actually gonna hop back on stream in Spanish, where we're gonna go through a website I found called QTimes. I want to say it's called QTimes. Let's see, qtimes.com. This is a live database of a lot of theme parks around the world and their wait times for every single ride. I came up with a way to download this data. Ooh, I don't want a software update, thanks. I came up with a way to download all this data into CSV files, and I'm going to show you how I did that. It's all going to be in Spanish. I'm probably going to do another repeat in English maybe next week. But I'm really excited to dive into this data because I think it's something that we all see with our My Disney app. But if you happen to have some sort of curiosity of how you can stream near real-time data into Power BI in one way or another, this is going to be a really useful way for you to do so. So if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around. To all the folks who were here, thank you for sticking around with me. Evascroll, BlackGoku, BownerSoup, DataByJosh, thanks so much for being around, for chatting here. Thanks for everyone for watching and contributing. I will see you next time.